John, we're streaming.
Lovely. Thank you, Jeremiah, very much. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. We welcome you to this beautiful presentation on the Day of the Covenant. We're observing the Day of the Covenant today, November 25, 2022. It's 7 p.m. here in the Eastern Seaboard in Clearwater, Florida, at the Baha'i Center. Of course, we are zooming in on this presentation, so we are not actually at the center. And we welcome everyone who is joining us online, who is observing this very important occasion to observe with us and to read these beautiful quotes as we go along. We have a few people here. Jeremiah, if you could please read some of the quotes. And if someone wants to volunteer now, please ask, and we would be happy to have you as one of the readers. All right. So just a quick little piece on the Day of the Covenant. So just a general piece of information. The Day of the Covenant is the day when Baha'is celebrate the appointment of Abdul Baha as the center of Baha'u'llah's covenant. It occurs yearly on the fourth day of speech, the Baha'i month speech, Qawl, which coincides with either November 25 or November 26, depending on what day Nowruz falls on that year. And Nowruz is the spring equinox, the first day of spring. And this date for 2022 is November 25th. With that being said, Jeremiah, if we could start our presentation. And Jeremiah, if you're supposed to share audio, just so you know, there's no audio. Just pointing that out.
He is God, O loved ones of Abdul Baha. Praise be to God. The fragrances of holiness are spread abroad. The pearls of bounty are scattered everywhere. The light of guidance is resplendent. The morning star of the concourse on high ascendeth. The cloud of mercy raineth down. The sun of bestowal blazeth and dazzleth. The wind of providence bloweth. And the fragrances of the Apa paradise nourish souls in the north and south. The east is illumined, and the west scented with roses. The world is perfumed with musk. Blessed is he who hath illumined his eyes by beholding these splendors, and whose soul hath become a garden through inhaling this musk-scented breeze. O loved ones of God, now is the time to be drunk with the cup of the covenant. Rend your garments in love for the beauty of the All-Merciful. In the banquet of the covenant seize ye the chalice of divine knowledge. Drunk in yearning, raise up a song of the purity and sanctity of the living, the Almighty God, till east and west are bewitched, and north and south set ablaze. With the utmost resolve, firmness, and steadfastness in the covenant of God, and with faithful adherence unto his testament, strive to exalt his word, neither give ear to condemnation and praise, nor be saddened or heartbroken by censure and humiliation. Arise amidst the peoples of the world, and wholly detached and sanctified from all save God, and stirred by his covenant and testament, strive to awaken the heedless, for in this day most people are unaware and oblivious of the power of God's covenant and testament. Although no explicit covenant was established in any previous age or dispensation, yet the followers of the Quran say that the apostle of God, may the life of the worlds be offered up for his sake, stated at Ghazar-e-Hun, whoever hath me as his master, hath Ali as his master. Likewise, the Christians say that the one who is the Spirit, may the soul of all existence be sacrificed for him. Address Simon, known as Peter, with these words, Thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. Now, in this most great dispensation, the covenant hath been conclusively established in clear terms and unmistakable language, leaving room for no interpretation whatever. In the most holy book, a book that abrogateth all the sacred scriptures of the past, and whose laws have annulled whatever laws in other tablets that are not in conformity with it. Furthermore, in the book of the divine covenant and testament, revealed by the pen of glory and named the book of the covenant, Baha'u'llah entered into a covenant with all created things. In all his tablets and prayers, he hath made firm adherence to the divine covenant and testament, to be the surest means of receiving heavenly bestowals, that all may apprehend the majesty and grandeur of that covenant and testament. Now, some are conscious of the power of this covenant, and are firm and steadfast in the straight path, whilst others are not yet as aware of its significance as they should be. The sincere friends of the Blessed Beauty must strive to awaken the people, as this impregnable stronghold shall remain inviolate and safe. Let not thy ear grieve. All other matters are secondary, and can be easily resolved with a word or two. Rest thou assured and hopeful, and remain firm and steadfast. The glory of God rest upon thee, and upon the beloved of the Lord. And now we're going to see some videos that have been put together in this presentation. So.
And when Abdu'l-Baha himself came to the West in the early 20th century, shortly after his release from prison, he really just poured out so much praise for the great scientific and technological advancements that we've made in the West. But he also really encouraged people to put that same commitment and devotion that we've put into our material advancement into our spiritual, moral, ethical advancement. And of all of the cities that Abdu'l-Baha visited on his travels through the West, he singled out one in particular that was to be a place of special significance for the spiritual future of the West, and that was New York. So when Abdu'l-Baha went to America, New York really acted almost like a home base for him. He initially arrived by ship in the port of New York. He came and went several times during the course of his tour across the continent, and of course when that tour was complete, he said goodbye and departed from New York after almost a year of ceaseless traveling throughout the US and Canada. But there was a special event that took place during one of Abdu'l-Baha's visits to New York, which really made it stand out as a very significant place in the history of the Baha'i faith. And that was that on June 19th, 1912, Abdu'l-Baha announced for the first time to the Baha'is of the West what is known as his station. essentially his position in the grand scheme of the universe. He announced not merely who he was, but what he was. And this station of Abdu'l-Baha was that he was the center of the covenant of Baha'u'llah. And this covenant of Baha'u'llah was like a promise, a kind of a pact that Baha'u'llah had made with his followers and had written into his will, that after his own passing, all of the Baha'is would turn to his son, to Abdu'l-Baha. And Abdu'l-Baha would be the channel through which they would be guided and they would be enlightened about his teachings, and through him the unity of the Baha'i community would be safeguarded from any kind of sectarian division. Abdu'l-Baha would really be the point that would ensure the progress and continued unity of the Baha'i world.
Instead, the master called Julie in to finish the portrait of him. It was June 19th, 1912. Now, earlier that day, the master had passed Julie and myself on the stairs. We both remarked that we felt a peculiar power in his step as he passed, as though some terrific force had possession of him. Oh, it was a force too strong to be caged in a body. Later, when Julie was putting the finishing touches on the portrait, the master closed his eyes and dozed off. Julie put down her paintbrush. What she saw was too sacred, too formidable to portray. And then, with a great flash like lightning, Abdu'l-Baha opened his eyes. The room seemed to rock like a ship in the storm with the power that was released. The master was blazing. 1,000 veils, concealing his station as the center of the covenant, had suddenly been burnt away. And we were exposed to the very flame itself.
Herald of the Covenant, he called her. Never will I forget that moment. The flashing eyes of Abdu'l-Baha, the reverberations of his voice, the power that still rocked the room. God of lightning and thunder, I thought. Then his voice boomed. I appoint you, Lua, herald of the covenant. And I am the covenant appointed by Baha'u'llah, he said of himself. And no one can refute his word. Go forth and proclaim, this is the covenant of God in your midst. A great joy seemed to lift Lua up. She looked like a winged angel.
Oh, recreate me, that I may do this work for thee.
The master then sent Lua downstairs to proclaim the covenant to the friends.
When the ocean of my presence hath ebbed, and the book of my revelation is ended, turn your faces toward him who hath branched from this ancient root.
The master soon followed Lua downstairs, and then spoke himself about his unique station as center of the covenant. It was then he declared New York City the city of the covenant. Then, to underscore this historic declaration, Abdu'l-Baha instructed that Baha'u'llah's tablet of the branch be immediately translated and read aloud to the entire gathering. The believers crowded into the room. Some even sat on the stairs, listening attentively to the words of Baha'u'llah.
There hath branched from the Sadrat al-Muntaha this sacred and glorious being, this branch of holiness. Well is it with him that hath sought his shelter and abideth beneath his shadow. Render thanks unto God, O people, for his appearance. For verily he is the most great favor unto you, the most perfect bounty upon you. And through him, every moldering bone is quickened. Whoso turneth toward him hath turned toward God. And whoso turneth away from him hath turned away from my beauty, hath repudiated my proof, and transgressed against me. He is the trust of God amongst you, his charge within you, his manifestation unto you. We have sent him down in the form of a human temple. Blessed and sanctified be God, who createth whatsoever he willeth, through his inviolable, his infallible decree.
Well, thank you. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Very good, very good. So we've reflected a bit on the Station of Abdu'l-Baha, and Jeremiah, there are no more slides, correct, after this?
There are more slides. There's about 7 more.
Okay, splendid. Welcome everyone who are joining us as we're going through the presentation. Welcome Alapa, to all of you who have joined. And we're in the midst of observing the Day of the Covenant and describing the importance of this day. And we've read through a few passages to reflect on, and we just had a few beautiful videos describing the nature of this special occasion. If Jeremiah, you can go to the next slide. He is the all-glorious, the most effulgent. Thou who art firm in the covenant, the opening of thy letter bore the words, O Abdu'l-Baha. What a call this was, for it caused my heart to leap with joy, and my soul to tremble with delight. Glad tidings encircled me on every side. My eyes were cheered, and my whole being breathed in the sweet savors of a garden of roses. This call, even as the melody of the concourse on high, filled the soul of Abdu'l-Baha with joy and rapture. By him who hath illumined my face with the light of absolute servitude to this holy threshold. No melody can fill this yearning soul with such joy and rapture as the call of, O Abdu'l-Baha. And no sweet accents warbled by the birds of the orchards can thrill my heart with such delight as the dulcet tune of, O Abdu'l-Baha. This melody causeth my heart to leap with joy, And these wondrous words fill me with blissful rapture, but only on condition that this name be accompanied by no other epithets of praise and paired with no other titles. The designation should be Abdu'l-Baha alone, for it to bestow boundless joy upon my heart and soul. This is my qualification and my station. This is my title and my glory. And this indeed is my highest aspiration throughout eternity.
The servant of Baha, the mystery of God, the most great branch, Abdu'l-Baha, the stainless mirror of his life, the unerring interpreter of his word, the perfect exemplar, Abdu'l-Baha, Abdu'l-Baha, the limb of the law of God. the servant of Baha, the mystery of God, the most great branch, Abdul Baha.
I believe what we're looking at here is a copy of the will and testament.
It's hard for me to make out what's written on top because it's pixelated. If you could move on.
So firm and mighty is this covenant that from the beginning of time until the present day, no religious dispensation has produced its like. It is indubitably, now indubitably means undoubtedly, it is indubitably clear that the pivot of the oneness of mankind is nothing else but the power of the covenant. Quite a statement to make. Believe me, each one of us should memorize this sentence. If you want to defend the faith, you should memorize this sentence. I will repeat it. It is indubitably clear that the pivot of the oneness of mankind is nothing else but the power of the covenant. He goes on. The power of the covenant is as the heat of the sun, which quickeneth and promoteth the development of all created things. All right. Shoghi Effendi, in his writings, refers to the power of the covenant again. He adds a special adjective to power. He says the energizing power, and also the invincible strength of the covenant. And he says the purpose has been to direct and canalize the forces of the twin revelations of the Bab and Baha'u'llah, to safeguard the unity of the friends, and to safeguard likewise the integrity of the faith. Now, these are some of the words that you find in the writings of Abdul Baha and Shoghi Effendi about this uniqueness of the Baha'i covenant. Why unique? We had the lesser covenant in all religions, as a matter of fact. The question of successorship, in the words that Mr. Drake read to us, is in all religions, the lesser covenant, about successorship. Why didn't it work then? It was because it was not in writing. It was verbal, oral. Why? This is a mystery of God. I don't know. But he specially reserved this particular uniqueness for the revelation of Baha'u'llah. He put it in writing. The fact that it is in writing, Shoghi Effendi tells us, is the distinctive feature of this faith. This is why in Christianity, in Islam, they did not have it. They could not have it. In fact, what happened was they divided themselves into sects. How far is this from uniting the whole world when they couldn't unite even themselves. They divided into sects. How could a whole bundle of sects establish world peace? Impossible. But the faith of Baha'u'llah has remained united, consolidated, unified throughout the years, throughout the centuries, and continues to be like that because of the covenant. And it eventually will prove to be the pivot of the oneness of mankind, of the most great peace, of world unity.
And this is the picture of Abdu'l-Baha walking.
It is indubitably clear that the pivot of the oneness of mankind is nothing else but the power of the covenant. It is indubitably clear that the pivot of the oneness of mankind is nothing else but the power of the covenant. The power of the covenant is as the heat of the sun, which quickeneth and promoteth the development of all created things on earth. It is indubitably clear that the pivot of the oneness of mankind is nothing else but the power of the covenant. It is indubitably clear that the pivot of the oneness of mankind is nothing else but the power of the covenant. The light of the covenant, in like manner, is the educator of the minds, the spirits, the hearts, and the souls of men. It is indubitably clear that the pivot of the oneness of mankind is nothing else but the power of the covenant. It is indubitably clear that the pivot of the oneness of mankind is nothing else but the power of the covenant. The power of the covenant is as the heat of the sun, which quickeneth and promoteth the development of all created things on earth. It is indubitably clear that the pivot of the oneness of mankind is nothing else but the power of the covenant. It is indubitably clear that the pivot of the oneness of mankind is nothing else but the power of the covenant. May God's love now o'er us as what of without stretched streams, while this peace that flows around us to reach us. Comfort
that's the end of our presentation that we had for today. I guess now would be if anyone in the group has a prayer or a song that they'd like to share, we could do that.
I do just put,
Yeah, you just pray right here. Yes.
oh my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal to them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy love. Help them, oh God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily, thou art their helper and their Lord. Amen.
O my Lord and my hope, help thou thy loved ones to be steadfast in thy mighty covenant, to remain faithful to thy manifest cause, and to carry out the commandments thou didst set down for them in thy book of splendors, that they may become banners of guidance and lamps of the company above, wellsprings of thine infinite wisdom, and stars that lead aright as they shine down from the supernal sky. Verily art thou the invincible, the almighty, the all-powerful.
Do we have anyone else who would like to share a prayer or a song tonight? Then I guess we can conclude for the evening, John.
Yes, that sounds like a good idea. Thank you everyone for joining us here. We appreciate it that we were able to share this observance together with all of you, whether you're at home now or, of course, watching this after the fact. We hope you can use this as a beautiful tool in learning more about the significance of this holy day, the Day of the Covenant, as we've celebrated it today on November 25th, 2022. Good evening, everyone, and best wishes.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much, Jeremiah and John. Thank you so much.